Welcome back to our channel, fellow gardeners. Are you tired of spending hours pulling weeds from your garden beds and walkways? Do you dream of having a beautiful, low-maintenance landscape that naturally keeps those pesky weeds at bay? Well, today I'm going to share with you 11 incredible plants that work as natural weed suppressors, creating dense ground cover that prevents weeds from taking root while adding stunning beauty to your outdoor space. These amazing plants will save you time, effort, and money while giving you the gorgeous garden you've always wanted. Before we dive into our list, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you never miss our latest gardening tips and tricks. And if you find this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up to help other gardeners discover these game-changing plants. Now let's explore these powerful weed-fighting champions that will transform your garden into a low-maintenance paradise. Why natural weed control works better. Using plants as natural weed control is one of the smartest strategies any gardener can employ. When you plant dense ground covers and spreading perennials, they create what we call living mulch. This living mulch blocks sunlight from reaching weed seeds, making it impossible for them to germinate and grow. These plants also compete with weeds for nutrients and water, essentially starving out any unwanted growth before it can establish itself. The beauty of this approach is that once these plants are established, they do all the work for you. Unlike chemical herbicides that need repeated applications and can harm beneficial insects and soil health, these natural suppressors keep working year after year, getting stronger and more effective with time. They also provide additional benefits like attracting pollinators, improving soil structure, and adding year-round interest to your landscape. Plant number 1. Lavender. Let's start our list with one of the most beloved and versatile plants in any garden, lavender. This Mediterranean native is absolutely fantastic at suppressing weeds while filling your garden with its intoxicating fragrance and beautiful purple blooms. Lavender grows in dense, bushy clumps that naturally crowd out weeds, and its strong root system helps it compete effectively for nutrients and water. What makes lavender particularly effective as a weed suppressor is its ability to thrive in poor, dry soils where many weeds struggle to establish themselves. Once mature, a single lavender plant can spread up to 3 feet wide, creating a substantial weed-free zone around itself. The plant's aromatic oils also have natural pest-repelling properties, which means you're getting double protection for your garden. Lavender is incredibly easy to grow and requires minimal maintenance once established. It prefers full sun and well-draining soil, making it perfect for those challenging spots in your garden where grass won't grow, but weeds seem to love. You can plant lavender along pathways, in rock gardens, or as border plants, and they'll reward you with fragrant blooms that you can harvest for sachets, cooking, or simply enjoying in fresh bouquets. The best varieties for weed suppression include English lavender, which is the most cold-hardy, and Spanish lavender, which tolerates more humidity. Plant them about 18 inches apart, and within 2 growing seasons, they'll fill in completely, creating an impenetrable barrier against weeds while attracting bees and butterflies to your garden. Plant number 2. Creeping thyme. Moving on to our second powerhouse plant, creeping thyme is absolutely unbeatable when it comes to creating a dense, weed-suppressing carpet. This low-growing perennial forms thick mats that hug the ground, leaving no room for weeds to establish themselves. What's amazing about creeping thyme is that it can handle foot traffic, making it perfect for areas between stepping stones or as a lawn alternative in low-traffic areas. Creeping thyme spreads by sending out runners that root wherever they touch the soil, quickly forming an interconnected network that's nearly impossible for weeds to penetrate. The plant stays low, typically growing only 2 to 3 inches tall, but it can spread several feet in all directions once established. This makes it incredibly efficient at covering large areas with minimal initial investment. The bonus features of creeping thyme make it even more attractive to gardeners. During the growing season, it produces tiny flowers in shades of pink, purple, or white that attract beneficial pollinators. The foliage is aromatic when stepped on, releasing a pleasant herbal scent that adds another sensory dimension to your garden experience. You can even harvest the leaves for cooking, as they have the same flavor as regular culinary thyme. Creeping thyme is drought-tolerant once established and thrives in full sun with well-draining soil. It's perfect for rock gardens, between pavers, on slopes where erosion is a concern, or anywhere you want dense, attractive ground cover. The plant is also deer-resistant, which means you won't have to worry about animals damaging your weed-suppressing efforts. Plant number 3. Creeping Jenny. Our third weed-fighting champion is Creeping Jenny, also known as moneywort, and this plant lives up to its name by spreading like crazy to create dense mats that weeds simply cannot penetrate. This vigorous perennial ground cover features bright golden yellow foliage that adds incredible color to shaded areas where many other plants struggle to thrive. Creeping Jenny is particularly valuable because it excels in moist, shaded conditions where weeds often proliferate. It forms thick carpets by sending out long trailing stems that root at every node, creating an interconnected web of roots and foliage that effectively smothers any weed seeds trying to germinate below. The plant grows only 2 to 4 inches tall, but can spread indefinitely if left unchecked. What makes Creeping Jenny especially effective is its ability to grow in challenging conditions that many desirable plants can't handle. It thrives in wet soil, partial to full shade, and can even tolerate occasional flooding. This makes it perfect for problem areas around downspouts, in low-lying spots that stay moist, or under trees where grass won't grow but weeds seem to flourish. The bright chartreuse foliage of Creeping Jenny provides excellent contrast when planted alongside darker-leaved plants, and in early summer, it produces small bright yellow flowers that add even more visual interest. However, be aware that this plant can be aggressive, so you might want to use it in contained areas or places where you want maximum coverage with minimal effort. Some gardeners use edging to control its spread while still enjoying its weed-suppressing benefits. Plant number 4. Sweet Alyssum. Sweet Alyssum might look delicate with its tiny flowers and fine foliage, but don't let appearances fool you. This annual is a powerful weed suppressor that works by creating dense, low-growing mats covered in flowers throughout the growing season. Sweet Alyssum self-seeds readily, which means once you plant it, you'll likely have it returning year after year in a carpet that gets thicker and more effective at blocking weeds. This charming little plant grows only 4 to 6 inches tall, but spreads outward to form dense cushions that can reach 12 to 15 inches across. The secret to its weed-suppressing power lies in its growth habit. It forms such thick, compact mats that weed seeds can't reach the soil surface to germinate. The continuous bloom production also means the plant is constantly putting energy into growth and spread, rather than allowing any gaps where weeds might establish. Sweet Alyssum is incredibly easy to grow and thrives in cool weather, making it perfect for spring and fall planting when many weeds are also trying to establish themselves. It prefers full sun, but tolerates partial shade, and it's not picky about soil conditions as long as drainage is adequate. The flowers come in white, pink, or purple, and have a sweet honey-like fragrance that attracts beneficial insects while creating a beautiful carpet effect. One of the best strategies with Sweet Alyssum is to plant it densely in areas where you want seasonal weed control, such as annual flower beds or vegetable garden pathways. It's also excellent for filling gaps between larger perennials, where it provides continuous color and weed suppression while the permanent plants are establishing themselves. Plant number 5. Hosta. Now we're moving into the realm of larger weed suppressors with hostas, and these shade-loving perennials are absolute champions at creating weed-free zones in areas where many other plants struggle. Hostas work their magic through their enormous leaves that create dense shade canopies, effectively blocking all sunlight from reaching the soil surface where weed seeds need light to germinate. What makes hostas particularly effective is their clumping growth habit and the size of their foliage. A mature hosta can have leaves that span 2 to 3 feet across, and when planted in groups, they create overlapping canopies that leave no room for weeds to establish. The plants also have dense, fibrous root systems that compete aggressively with any weeds that might try to establish themselves around the edges. Hostas come in an incredible variety of sizes, from miniature varieties perfect for small spaces to giant specimens that can reach 4 feet tall and 6 feet wide. This versatility means you can find hostas suitable for any area, where you need shade-tolerant weed suppression. The foliage comes in shades of green, blue, gold, and variegated combinations, providing beautiful texture and color even in the deepest shade. Beyond their weed-suppressing abilities, hostas offer year-round garden interest. In summer, many varieties produce tall spikes of fragrant flowers in white or lavender that attract pollinators. The foliage provides bold architectural elements in shade gardens, and many varieties have leaves with interesting textures or patterns that add visual depth to plantings. For maximum weed suppression, plant hostas closer together than typically recommended, allowing their leaves to overlap slightly. This creates an impenetrable canopy that weeds cannot penetrate while creating a lush tropical appearance in your shade garden. Plant number 6. Ajuga. Bugleweed. Ajuga, commonly known as bugleweed, is our 6th powerful weed suppressor, and this low-growing perennial is absolutely unbeatable for creating dense mats in shaded areas. Ajuga spreads by runners, creating thick carpets of colorful foliage, topped with spikes of blue, purple, pink, or white flowers in spring. Once established, these dense mats are nearly impossible for weeds to penetrate. What sets Ajuga apart is its incredibly dense growth habit and its ability to thrive in challenging conditions. The plant forms rosettes of leaves that overlap to create continuous coverage, and the runners quickly fill in any gaps where weeds might try to establish. Ajuga typically grows 4 to 6 inches tall, but can spread several feet in all directions, making it extremely efficient at covering large areas. The foliage of Ajuga comes in various colors including deep green, bronze, purple, and variegated patterns, providing year-round interest even when the plant isn't flowering. The spring flower display is spectacular, with dense spikes of blooms rising above the foliage carpet. These flowers are excellent for attracting early-season pollinators when few other plants are blooming. Ajuga is particularly valuable because it tolerates deep shade where many other ground covers fail, and it can handle both dry and moist soil conditions once established. It's perfect for areas under trees, along north-facing foundations, or in other challenging spots where you need reliable weed suppression. The plant is also evergreen in most climates, providing continuous coverage and weed suppression throughout the year. Like some of our other aggressive spreaders, Ajuga can become invasive in ideal conditions, so consider using it in contained areas or places where you want maximum coverage with minimal maintenance. Plant number 7. Mint. Our 7th weed-fighting plant brings us into the world of herbs with mint, and anyone who has ever grown mint knows just how aggressively this plant can spread to claim territory. This vigorous spreading habit makes mint incredibly effective at suppressing weeds, as it quickly forms dense colonies that leave no room for unwanted plants to establish themselves. Mint spreads through underground runners called rhizomes, and these runners can travel surprising distances to pop up and establish new plants. This creates an interconnected network of roots and foliage that effectively prevents weeds from getting established anywhere within the mint's territory. The plants also compete aggressively for nutrients and water, further discouraging weed growth. What makes mint particularly valuable is that it thrives in conditions where many weeds also prefer to grow: partial shade and consistently moist soil. By establishing mint in these areas, you're essentially beating the weeds at their own game, claiming the territory with a useful and attractive plant instead of letting weeds take over. The aromatic foliage of mint provides the added benefit of natural pest deterrence, as many insects and small mammals find the strong scent off-putting. This means you're getting both weed suppression and pest control from the same plant. Plus, you can harvest the leaves throughout the growing season for teas, cooking, and other culinary uses. Because mint can be extremely aggressive, many gardeners prefer to plant it in contained areas or use barriers to control its spread. Raised beds, large containers, or areas surrounded by hardscaping work well for mint cultivation. You can also use its aggressive nature to your advantage in problem areas where nothing else will grow, but you want to prevent weed establishment. Plant number 8. Sedum, Stonecrop. Sedum, commonly called Stonecrop, is our 8th powerful weed suppressor, and these succulent perennials are absolutely perfect for areas with poor soil and difficult growing conditions where weeds often try to establish themselves. Sedum varieties form dense mats or clumps of thick, fleshy foliage that effectively crowd out weeds while requiring minimal water and care once established. What makes sedum particularly effective at weed suppression is its ability to thrive in conditions that stress many other plants. Poor soil, drought, intense sun, and temperature extremes don't bother sedums, which means they can establish themselves and spread in areas where desirable plants struggle, but weeds often flourish. Once established, sedum forms dense carpets or substantial clumps that prevent weed seeds from reaching the soil surface. There are dozens of sedum varieties available, ranging from low-growing mat-forming types perfect for ground cover to larger upright varieties that create substantial weed-suppressing clumps. Mat-forming sedums like golden sedum or dragon's blood sedum spread to create continuous carpets, while larger varieties like autumn joy sedum form dense clumps that suppress weeds in their immediate vicinity. The bonus features of sedum make it even more valuable in the garden. Most varieties produce showy flowers that attract butterflies and beneficial insects, and the thick foliage provides interesting texture and often colorful hues ranging from green to red to silver. Many sedums are evergreen or semi-evergreen, providing year-round coverage and weed suppression. Sedum is particularly valuable for rock gardens, slopes, areas with shallow soil over rock, and other challenging sites where you want attractive plants that suppress weeds without requiring irrigation or soil improvement. Plant number 9. Daylilies, Hemerocallis. Daylilies are our 9th weed-suppressing powerhouse, and these popular perennials are incredibly effective at creating weed-free zones through their dense clumping habit and aggressive root systems. A mature daylily clump can easily reach 3 to 4 feet across, and when planted in groups, they create overlapping zones of coverage that weeds simply cannot penetrate. The secret to daylilies' weed-suppressing ability lies in their growth habit and root system. The plants form dense clumps of arching foliage that shade the soil surface, preventing weed seeds from germinating. Below ground, daylilies develop extensive root systems that compete aggressively with weeds for nutrients and moisture. The combination of above and below ground competition makes it nearly impossible for weeds to establish themselves near established daylily plantings. What makes daylilies particularly valuable is their adaptability to various growing conditions. They thrive in full sun to partial shade and tolerate a wide range of soil conditions from clay to sand. This versatility means you can use daylilies for weed suppression in many different areas of your landscape, from formal perennial borders to naturalized meadow settings. The flowering display of daylilies is spectacular, with each plant producing multiple flower stalks throughout the summer season. Modern daylily varieties come in virtually every color except true blue, and many have extended bloom periods or rebloom multiple times during the growing season. This means you're getting beautiful flowers along with effective weed suppression. For maximum weed control, plant daylilies closer together than typically recommended, allowing the foliage to overlap slightly. Within 2 to 3 years, they'll form dense colonies that require minimal maintenance while providing continuous weed suppression and seasonal flower displays. Plant number 10. Vinca minor. Vinca minor, commonly known as periwinkle or myrtle, is our 10th weed-suppressing champion, and this evergreen ground cover is absolutely unbeatable for creating dense carpets in shaded areas where weeds love to establish themselves. Vinca minor spreads by trailing stems that root wherever they touch the soil, quickly forming thick mats that are impenetrable to weeds. What makes Vinca minor particularly effective is its growth habit and evergreen nature. The plant produces long trailing stems, with glossy dark green leaves spaced closely along the stems. These stems layer over each other to create multiple levels of coverage, ensuring that no sunlight can reach the soil surface where weed seeds need light to germinate. Because it's evergreen, This coverage continues year-round, providing constant weed suppression even during winter months. Vinca minor is incredibly tough and adaptable, thriving in deep shade where many other plants struggle and few desirable alternatives exist for weed control. It tolerates dry shade, which is one of the most challenging growing conditions in any landscape, making it perfect for areas under large trees or on north-facing slopes where nothing else will grow but weeds seem to thrive. The bonus features of Vinca minor include beautiful blue, purple, or white flowers that appear in spring, creating a carpet of color in shaded areas when few other plants are blooming. The flowers are particularly valuable for early-season pollinators, and the glossy foliage provides attractive texture throughout the year. Vinca minor can be aggressive in ideal conditions, so it's best used in areas where you want maximum coverage, or in contained spaces where its spread won't become problematic. It's perfect for large shaded areas, slopes where erosion is a concern, or anywhere you need reliable, low-maintenance ground cover that effectively suppresses weeds. Plant number 11. Ferns. Our final weed-suppressing powerhouse brings us to ferns, specifically varieties like ostrich fern and Christmas fern, and these ancient plants are incredibly effective at creating weed-free zones in shaded, moist areas where many other plants struggle, but weeds often flourish. Ferns work their weed-suppressing magic through their dense root systems and their ability to create thick colonies that crowd out unwanted plants. Ostrich ferns are particularly effective because they spread by underground rhizomes to form large colonies of arching fronds that can reach 4 to 5 feet tall. These colonies create dense shade that prevents weed seeds from germinating, while the extensive root systems compete aggressively with any weeds that might try to establish themselves. Christmas ferns work similarly, but stay smaller and provide evergreen coverage throughout the year. What makes ferns especially valuable for weed suppression is their ability to thrive in conditions that many desirable plants can't handle, but where weeds often establish themselves. Deep shade, consistent moisture, and rich organic soil create perfect conditions for both ferns and many weeds. But established fern colonies will outcompete weeds every time. Ferns also provide incredible texture and visual interest in shaded areas, with their delicate fronds creating beautiful patterns and movement in the landscape. Many ferns are evergreen or semi-evergreen, providing year-round structure and weed suppression. The unfurling fiddleheads in spring create additional seasonal interest, and the overall effect is much more attractive than any weed-infested area. For maximum weed suppression, plant ferns in groups and allow them to naturalize and spread. Ostrich ferns are particularly aggressive spreaders and will quickly create large colonies in ideal conditions. Christmas ferns spread more slowly, but provide reliable evergreen coverage that works year-round to prevent weed establishment. Planting and establishment tips. Now that we've covered our 11 powerful weed-suppressing plants, let's talk about how to establish them successfully for maximum effectiveness. The key to success with any of these plants is proper soil preparation and adequate spacing to ensure quick establishment and spread. Start by removing existing weeds and improving soil conditions as needed for your chosen plants. When planting ground covers like creeping thyme, Ajuga, or Vinca minor, space them closer together than you might normally to achieve faster coverage. While this requires a larger initial investment, you'll achieve complete weed suppression much faster, and these plants will quickly fill in the spaces between individual plantings. Mulching around newly planted weed suppressors is crucial during their establishment period. Use organic mulch, like shredded bark or compost, to suppress weeds while your new plants are getting established. Once the plants have spread and matured, they'll create their own living mulch that eliminates the need for additional mulching. Consistent watering during the first year is essential for helping these plants establish strong root systems and begin their spreading process. Once established, most of these plants are relatively drought tolerant, but good establishment is key to their long-term weed-suppressing effectiveness. Maintenance and long-term care. The beauty of using plants for weed suppression is that maintenance requirements are minimal once everything is established. However, there are a few things you can do to keep your weed-suppressing plants healthy and effective over the long term. Annual fertilizing in spring will help maintain vigorous growth and spreading, especially for heavy feeders like hostas and daylilies. Some of the more aggressive spreaders like mint, ajuga, and creeping jenny may need occasional control to prevent them from overrunning other desirable plants. Regular edging or installation of barriers can help contain their spread, while still allowing them to provide effective weed suppression in designated areas. Dividing larger perennials like hostas and daylilies every few years not only keeps the plants healthy, but also gives you additional plants to expand your weed-suppressing areas or share with other gardeners. This makes these plants incredibly economical choices for large-scale weed control. There you have it, 11 incredible plants that will transform your garden from a weed-pulling nightmare into a low-maintenance paradise. These natural weed suppressors work by creating dense coverage that prevents weeds from establishing while providing beautiful foliage, flowers, and often additional benefits like pest control or culinary uses. Remember that the key to success is choosing the right plants for your specific conditions and giving them proper establishment care during their first year. Once established, these plants will work tirelessly to keep your garden weed-free while requiring minimal maintenance and providing years of beauty and satisfaction. If you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more practical gardening tips and tricks. Share your experiences with these weed-suppressing plants in the comments below. We'd love to hear about your successes and answer any questions you might have. Until next time, happy gardening, and remember that the best gardens are the ones that work with nature rather than against it.